Welcome into episode 545 of the Skate Podcast. I'm Brian DeFelice, joined by my two Irish co-hosts here, Bridgette Proulx and Scott McLaughlin, with their brand new Scally caps they got from TD Garden, which I didn't get because I'm not allowed within 20 feet of TD Garden. They let me in there. So unfortunately, I'll have to get mine. They just call me crazy. I don't know why everybody calls me. They don't let me in.
One.
I haven't done anything wrong to anybody. But
yeah, these were a nice giveaway. So I think I don't know if every fan got them or if it was like first 5,000 or whatever, but they were giveaways for fans, and Bruins PR was also nice enough to leave some in the press box for media. And most importantly, so they did this a couple of years ago during the centennial year. They gave us some, but those ones did not fit my head. I have a big old dome, so those ones are too small.
That's why we told you to cover it.
Yeah, this one actually fits though, and actually fits pretty well. So I might actually get some use out of this.
I didn't realize that I could pull this off until yesterday. So I mean, it doesn't necessarily match with what I was wearing when we decided to put these on before the podcast, but if I wore black, I think I could really pull it off.
Yeah, and Scott, your whole outfit's just, I gotta tell you, it's an 11 out of 10 right now. I don't know if you woke up today and just said, I'm gonna be the best looking guy in the area, but what a fit you've got going on there. Bridgette, the fashion segment banner up there.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is, you're right. Oh, where is it? I can't even find it. Here we go.
That's what I strive for every day. I think I come up short like 364 days out of the year, but today's the one day I got it.
It is your time of year. St. Patty's Day is around the corner.
Hey, his birthday too. His birthday.
When?
Coming up.
Sunday.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Big 2-5.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 25 years, Scott.
Yeah.
It's a great year. Big things happening for you. But at the expense of
you can legally rent a car now.
Yeah.
That's right.
And next year you're off your parents' insurance. Things are looking up for you. But at the expense of just continuing to pump Scott's tires, let's get to the matters at hand, which are the Bruins and their loss to the Sharks last night. Scott, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, you know whose tires we're not pumping is any Bruins forward who's not on the second line, because they've not been getting the job done since the Olympic break, and Marcus Sturm finally changed things up in the third period of Thursday night's game. Unfortunately, the Bruins were already down 4-0 at the time, but he goes to the kid line, the quote-unquote kid line, Pasternak with Fraser Minton and Murat Husnudinov right after the fourth goal, and they score 10 seconds later, literally just 10 seconds into the shift. Then second line stayed together, and then it was Elias Lindholm with Morgan Geekie and Alex Steeves. This is something that we've talked about for several podcasts now, and I think was at least a couple games overdue. Now we'll see if Sturm sticks with it or if he just tries to go back to the same old combos. The Bruins are practicing at 11:30 on Friday, so I'll be heading over to Warrior for that. But yeah, when I asked him about this on Tuesday, specifically about the Pasternak Lindholm connection, he said, I trust my guys, and he didn't think it was necessary to make any changes yet. Well, I guess by the third period, Thursday night, it became necessary. And again, for whatever it's worth in a blowout game in garbage time, did provide a little bit of a spark. After the game, Sturm was asked about changing the lines up, and he was asked about Elias Lindholm's play in particular. And he said he just didn't feel like he just needed more. He said he thought lines got stuck, which again, I would argue they've been stuck. And on Elias Lindholm, he, without directly naming him, he said, we need our top guys to be our top guys, which he repeated later when I asked him about the power play as well. So it has not been going well. They've not been getting enough from anyone outside of Zacha, Arvidsson, and Middlestad. And that's been 5-on-5, where every line other than the second line has now been outscored 13-4 since the Olympics. And it's also been on the power play, which is now 4 for 28 since the Olympics, under 15%. gives up a back-breaking shorthanded goal last night to make it 3-0, and that really felt like ball game. Like that, the game was pretty much over at that point. So yeah, like you can, I'll allow for David Pastrnak being a little off. We learned that him and his wife just had their second baby girl earlier this week, which is awesome, obviously. So congratulations to them. And the human side of this is like, okay, you can understand maybe he's been a little distracted or not getting sleep or whatever. But like that doesn't excuse the entire offense. Elias Lindholm and Morgan Geekie have combined for 0 5-on-5 points since the Olympics in 8 games. 0. Like these guys got to pick it up and got to get going because the Bruins are not going to be able to ride one line to a playoff spot.
Yeah, and there was a time during the second period where they had the kids together. Kids line, Kuzi, Minton, and Pasta were together. It was maybe a half change. Like Pasta was still out there, and the third line was coming, or like I don't even know, because Pasta and Kuzi were still out there, but Minton's line was coming over or something like that. And they immediately generated a 3-on-2 and had a good chance as soon as they were on the ice together. And I was like, why are we not going to this right now in the middle of the second period? It took a little bit later in the third. He finally purposefully sent them out together. That is what I think they should be doing. I think that is the next step, breaking up what they currently have on the top line, putting Pastrnak with Kuznetsov and Minton where they are all just, thinking quickly, moving quickly. It always just, it looks good. Like you watch it and you're like, well, they're doing stuff. And I think Minton has actually been playing really well recently. He hasn't scored. He's hit some posts. Actually, he did score. What am I saying? He's hit some posts. He's come close on maybe 4 or 5 more times he could have scored. So put him next to Pastrnak, and maybe some of those setups are a little bit better and they go in. Or just, I just feel like he's playing well. So put him next to guys that he could benefit from, and they could benefit from playing with a guy that's kind of on his game right now. So I think they need to put the kids together and then figure it out from there. But that would be my move. I know I'm not the coach, but
you should be.
I like them together. I do. I mean, they're fun, right?
They are. And my biggest thing is getting Lindholm away from Pastrnak. So if that means it's Minton and Kuznetsov with Pastrnak, then great. If it's Minton and Geekie or Kuznetsov and I need Lindholm away from him, right? And when Sturm says things like our top guys needs to be our top guys, the first thing that comes to my mind is and I said this last night after the game, but there's 2 different types of top players. There's top players who are top players based on having more skill than everybody else around them. And then there's top players who are top players by default because a team lacks players that have that elite skill. And to me, that's what Elias Lindholm is. He's a top player for the Bruins by default. And that was the case when they signed him. But right now, so much of his offense, nearly half, maybe more than half, is generated on the power play. And I've said this before, I'm not taking away from that. It's important for that to be there. And the power play is a huge part of any game. But most of the game is played at 5-on-5. Okay, so if you are ranked 13th on the Bruins in 5-on-5 offensive production, and if you want to sit there and say, well, he's missed a bunch of games due to injury, he's still 12th, 11th or 12th on the team in 5-on-5 points per game. So it doesn't change much, maybe one slot. Is that the production of a top guy? No. So I just don't understand what this reluctancy is, this love affair with keeping Lindholm with Pastrnak. I don't care that you signed him a couple summers ago as a free agent, big ticket item. If you're not getting the job done at 5-on-5, and I understand there's more elements to the game. I do. There's 3-on-3 overtime. There's 4-on-4 play. There's 5-on-4 play. There's 6-on-5. I get all of that. But where is most of the game played? 5-on-5, and he does not make any sort of plays at 5-on-5. He doesn't have any breakaway speed. He's not a good one-on-one player. Like, I'm talking offensively. He's not. He doesn't beat guys one-on-one. He's not a great playmaker. He's not a great finisher. What am I missing? Like, so yes, thank you, Marco, for finding I'm a huge Marco Sturm fan. I think he's done a great job by and large this year, and I think he's somebody that this organization wants behind that bench for, certainly for years to come here. And, but this one particular thing, I know he's trying to work with the best that he has, right? I don't think if you gave Marco Sturm truth serum, he would say Elias Lindholm is the optimal number one center for any team. All right. But you can still make other things happen. And yeah, they did it when they were down 4-0 yesterday. So maybe you can build off that going forward. And for what it's worth, I thought Geeky, Lindholm, and Steves looked good too. All of a sudden now they're making plays. So there's something off about that 5-on-5 combo with Pastrnak and Lindholm. And I got a comment last night about everybody forgets how good Geeky, Lindholm, and Pastrnak were at the end of last season. I know last season was a long time ago. And not for nothing, that Pastrnak and Geeky combo got clicking with Pavel Zacha as their center iceman. And somewhere along the line, around a trade deadline or thereafter, they put Lindholm there, and Lindholm just fit a combo that was already clicking on all cylinders. So it's a little bit revisionist history to kind of sit there and say, look how good they all were last year, because Zacha was the guy who started with those two.
They were better with Lindholm, though. Like, across the board, their numbers were better with Lindholm. So I agree with you. Like, that's a long time ago. And I actually, when I talked to Elias Lindholm earlier this week, like, talked about that, and he said the same thing. He was like, yeah, like last season was
better than Zacha.
What's that?
He said the same thing. I was better than Zacha with them.
No. He said like that. Yeah, like last season's last season. There's no guarantee it's gonna carry over. So
yeah.
And worth noting, like, different system. Like that I think, especially down the stretch, honestly, the Bruins didn't really have a system, so I think they got to just go out and play free, and maybe they could use a little bit more of that. But we know Marco Sturm has a very defensive system and has really emphasized that, and I don't think they've been able to. They have clearly not been as effective in this system as they were last year, when down the stretch they're probably just playing really without any pressure and not being held to much of a defensive standard. Which, again, I do actually think there's been times this year where Marco Sturm could maybe free up the reins a little bit, especially with the top offensive players, but he has made it very clear that there are no exceptions in his system. So Pastrnak and Geeky don't get to cheat towards offense. He demands that they play their defensive game and trap in the neutral zone and all that. And I don't think that's always been the best thing for them, but I do also understand, like, trying to establish a uniform system across the board and making sure your top players are part of setting an example in trying to play that way.
That's a good point.
Are you trying to say Joe Sacco didn't have a system?
He might have tried to, but I don't think it was really coming through in their play.
Yeah, I mean, it's
they had that 1 or 2 weeks that they.
Yeah. It's a good point you raised, Scott, about system play potentially impacting or limiting one's ability. I don't know. I just don't see a ton of playmaking ability and one-on-one playmaking ability from Elias Lindholm. He just doesn't. Does a change of system make him win foot races that he's currently losing? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I guess that's possible. But at the end of the day, one player, and this will get into my opening shift here, that, to your point, Scott, there's never going to be any exceptions to Marco Sturm's system, including this young whippersnapper who could potentially be on the way soon, which is James Hagens. And the reason I bring him up is because we're talking about potential line combinations. Bridgette hates that I use the word whippersnapper there, but I'm going to say it again, whippersnapper. And
you should be wearing the scally cap.
What's that?
You should be wearing the scally cap if you want to say that.
I know. I need the tobacco pipe while I say it too. Eagles play Maine tonight on Friday night in the Hockey East playoffs. I bring that up because, and you two correct me if I'm wrong, do we know for sure that if BC loses, their national tournament chances go out the window? Do they have to win Hockey East?
If they lose tonight, they are definitely out. They have a 0% chance of making NCAAs. I think if they were to get to the Hockey East Championship and lose, there's still like a small percentage chance where maybe they could squeeze in as an at-large, but most likely they have to win the Hockey East tournament, and they for sure have to at least win tonight to keep going.
Okay, so that's my opening shift. Is if you don't have any plans tonight, throw on BC and Maine. Bridgette, are you a part of that broadcast?
Bridgette, your microphone keeps not picking up.
All right, I'm doing Providence tomorrow. I'm gonna try to fix it.
She's going to try to fix it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any plans tonight, watch Eagles Maine. And if BC loses, then we are all officially on James Hagens' watch. And that may mean him going to Providence for a little bit before going into Boston. Maybe it means he's in Providence all year. If Marco Sturm is hell-bent on people knowing his system before they play for the Bruins, right? Scott, I think we all here would love to see him with the Boston Bruins. No ifs, ands, ors, or buts about it. But as I say, could Marco Sturm pour water on that fire for us because they don't think that James knows the systems right away? That they want him to go down to Providence for maybe the whole season or certainly a few weeks.
I mean, it's possible.
You said he has no exceptions, right? Like, or is there an exception?
I just think like organizationally, you want to give James Hagens a chance. Like, first off, you could use it. Like, you could use an injection of offensive skill and speed and pace. Like, I think he's had a good season. He's become a more well-rounded player. Top prospects, when they sign after the college season, they expect to play at least a couple NHL games to get their feet wet. I think the Bruins are going to give him that, and I think they owe it to themselves too to see if he can actually help. Like, not be a savior, but can he help? Because if he can, then he should be in Boston. And if he plays a couple, 3 games and it's clear that, okay, there's a lot to work on here and we want him to go get some seasoning, okay, then send him down to Providence for a week and a half or whatever it ends up being and let him play 4 or 5 games down there and then reevaluate. But to me, the play should be once he signs you throw him right into the fire in Boston and let him get his feet wet and let him get that experience, but also give yourselves that experience of seeing what he can do and where he is and can he hit the ground running or does he need to go down to Providence and learn? Like, but I would rather see that process start in Boston.
Okay. I have thoughts, but I want to get to my opening shift before the 20-minute mark. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. I thought maybe my computer was overheating too, so that wasn't helpful. But now you'll all get to hear my jokes, so that's good. My opening shift has to do with a comment that Marco Sturm made last night after the game. I asked, what does a successful road trip look like for you guys? Because obviously what's next is they finally snapped their home winning streak. They were at 13 wins in a row at home. But now they have to go play on the road where they haven't had a lot of success recently. So they start out, the 3-game road trip is starting Saturday at 3 at Washington. And then Monday and Tuesday, a back-to-back, starting with the Devils on Monday night and the Habs in Montreal on Tuesday night. And then I don't know if Marco Sturm was also talking about the Detroit game. There is a home game in between, but you'll get it when I read the quote. But basically, he said that a 500 road trip would be enough. That is what he would define as a success for a team in a playoff spot. But I just had thought after the fact, I'm thinking to myself, there's not a lot of games left. That's fine for Carolina if they do that. That's fine for one of the teams that is feeling pretty safe about their playoff spot. That is 500 isn't really what you need to do when you're in the last wild card spot and when you're playing against teams that you're right next to in the standings. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you think 500, I'm just going to say in the next 4 road games, including the Detroit one, 500 against those teams is going to be good enough to keep them in a playoff spot?
I mean, it might be good enough to keep them in the playoff spot, but it's not what they should be striving for. Like, you should be striving to be over 500. And Sturm did say in a different answer, he said 500 or better. And like he's been on this all season. This is clearly like a thing for him, is like good teams are 500 or at least 500 on the road, which, by the way, the Bruins have not been, not just recently, but on the season overall, they are under 500 on the road. So 500 would be an improvement for them. So I guess that's not a terrible baseline if you're demanding at least that. But like Washington and New Jersey aren't in the playoffs. I look at that, I'm like, those should be 2 wins. And then whatever happens in Montreal, like, right, like how you really want this road trip to go is whether it's regulation or overtime shootout, beat Washington, beat New Jersey, and then Montreal's like the gravy game, right? It's like now you have, like, if you sweep the road trip, that's a bonus. And if you lose a tough game in Montreal and a back-to-back, you say, well, at least we got Washington and New Jersey. Like, that would be that's how I'm thinking about it. I don't, if you come out of Washington and New Jersey with 2 or 3 points, I don't think you're feeling good. So, yeah, it's a little odd. Again, it's not new because he said it all season about road trips, but I do feel like you gotta raise that bar a little bit.
And if you do include the Detroit game in it, Detroit is the team directly in front of you in another wild card spot right now. Like, they're 1 point in front of you. That is so my point is, sure, 500 works in some situations for playoff teams, and it would have been fine earlier in the year, but we're coming down the home stretch, and each game has a different level of importance. So how you get the wins, who you get the wins against, also matters. It's not just as easy as boiling it down to 500, because a win over Detroit, you pass them. And, like a win over Montreal, you're closer to that 3 spot. And, taking points against Washington kind of really pushes them out of the playoffs. Like, these are situations that I think are more nuanced than we need to go 500, because getting 2 points against Detroit is different than getting 2 points against the Sharks like yesterday, which they did not get points against the Sharks. But, teams that are around you have more of a significance, because you're not just getting the 2 points. They're not able to make any moves. They're not able to catch ground. And Zadorov talked about it after the game too. And he said he looks at the standings and he looks at the teams around them in the standings, and he's like, we got some help today, he said, but it was last night. And he's watching to see, but he also said, but we can't leave it up to them. We have to do what we can. And a good team doesn't lose 2 in a row. So basically you got to go out and win that first road game.
Yeah. And Bridgette, you're right to bring up the nuance, because it is more complex than how Marco kind of led on with that comment. And what you're introducing is the idea of 4-point swings, right? So it's more than just a win against a certain team. It's the ability to, go up 2 and drop them down a bit. So yeah, and right now the Bruins are starting to fall a little bit behind at the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, right? Montreal's got a game in hand on the Bruins, and they got 4 points up on Boston. So what seemed a little bit closer in our last episode has now gone a little bit further away. And when you talk about the wild card picture, Bridgette, you mentioned Detroit is directly ahead of the Bruins. The Bruins actually are ahead of them on points percentage, because Detroit's played 1 more game and they're only a point up on Boston. But Columbus is 1 point behind the Bruins, and we know that the Bruins have 2 games against the Blue Jackets in Columbus before the season comes to an end, including the second to last game of the season. And when you look at the Blue Jackets upcoming games, they have Philly, who has played well of late. They're making a bit of a push. They have Carolina. We all know that they're one of the better teams in the conference. And then they play the Rangers, and then Seattle. You know, Columbus, I think, has been playing really strong hockey. And I don't love the idea of having to play them twice in Columbus with that damn cannon going off. I like how Columbus is playing. I think they're playing a better brand of hockey than Boston right now. Things can change before they meet again. But for me, I try to look at trends, and I just can't help but feel like since the Bruins had that phenomenal month of January, they haven't played a strong brand of hockey dating back to, let's call it the Stadium Series through last night against the Sharks. And I'm not saying that they played a terrible game against the Sharks. I think they deserve to have more, productivity at different points in the game. I think they'll play at San Jose for a lot of that game. But in their last, 9 games or so, I just think the Bruins have played, their record's not great. They've won 4 of their last 10 overall. I think they're 4-3-3 in their last 10. So you want to simplify that down. It's 4 wins, 6 losses. And the special teams has kind of flipped, right? Their power play was playing strong all year. The penalty kill had dipped the last couple of months. And then since the Olympic break, they've done a role reversal where the penalty kill is now doing really well, but the power play is just completely struggling. And it's okay if you want to have 2 units that are middle of the pack. I think that's probably better than having one higher and then one just completely low. Like they can't be so Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to both their units. They have to find some stability on their special teams.
Yeah, and it kind of all ties together in terms of your top offensive players or your highest paid offensive players, just like really going through it right now and really battling. And it's, they had some chances, especially in that first period Thursday night, but they go into the intermission down 1-0. And yeah, it feels like 5-on-5 power play. It's like it's all combining together where they can't even lean on the power play right now. Where it's one thing if your 5-on-5 line goes quiet, but if you're still producing in the power play, you still feel pretty good about yourself because you're paid to score and you put up points there, and hey, that's still scoring and it's helping you win games. But now with the power play struggling, like Thursday night, your power play actively helped you lose that game. So now not only are these guys not feeling good about themselves 5-on-5, now they're like, man, we can't even do anything on the power play, and we just gave away a shorthanded goal. And you always wonder like what it takes to get these guys out of it. And it's they've tried to make some adjustments on the power play. Like we've seen a few different things. I mentioned last episode, like Zaka popping out wide of the net a little more. Oddly enough, the shorthanded goal they gave up, like they went with a different face-off play, right? Like usually when they're on that right side, it's back to McAvoy. He walks across the line and then leaves it for Pastrnak kind of at the right point, high on the right side. Well, this time they changed it up. Pastrnak started on his weak side, on the left side, on that elbow. And obviously the Bruins never even got to whatever play they were trying to set up because you end up with a battle on the boards. Bruins lose the puck. And then oddly enough, it's Pastrnak who just doesn't react as quickly as Graf. As soon as that battle shifts to San Jose possession, Graf takes off and ends up with the shorthanded breakaway, and Pasternak's, a step and a half behind him. So, whether it's on the power play or whether it's different line combinations to spark something 5-on-5, like those guys, Pastrnak, Geeky, Elias Lindholm, like they just need something to latch on to just start to gain some confidence back, because it looks like a group right now that has no confidence.
Yeah.
It feels like they give up a lot of shorthanded chances, and I don't really know, Scott, if you know how to look at like that in comparison to the rest of the league. But recently it just feels like they've given up a lot of really good like breakaway chances shorthanded, and a few times Swayman bailed them out, and a few times people mishandled the puck. But yesterday, obviously, Graf gets the shorthanded goal, so it ends up hurting you rather than helping you. And in a time where they really were still in the game at that point, and if that just doesn't go in, you think about the way that game ended, like it's a different story, right? We're not maybe talking about a game that goes to overtime, or they definitely have a better chance to win that game if they don't turn it over and give Graf an easy chance on goal. So it would have changed the game for sure. And it just feels like we've seen it so much recently. And it's not only that your power play doesn't score, but if your power play is getting scored against, that should count for, it counts for even worse when you see it. And it's all like blue line plays that just are like almost feel like lack of confidence plays, or like maybe thinking too far ahead and you're already, fanning on something when you're in your head.
Yeah.
Scott, did you find it or no?
Well, I know like they're among the league leaders in shorthanded goals. They've given up 8 shorthanded goals on the season, which is tied for 4th most. So, I haven't not going to dive into like scoring chances and all that, but just pure shorthanded goals allowed, like they're tied for 4th most.
I mean, they probably go hand in hand, right? I mean, there's been plenty of times where they've given up a shorthanded opportunity, and Swayman or Korpisalo makes a save or whatever. I mean, look at the game against the Kings with that second unit. I mean, they give up like, I think was it Trevor Moore? He had like 1 shot on goal shorthanded, but they had like, it felt like 2 or 3 great A's. Maybe they got blocked or missed a net or something, but yeah.
By the way, it is crazy to look at. So that the Avalanche have given up the most shorthanded goals. They've given up 12, which is 3 more than any other team. It's crazy with all that talent that the Avalanche have the worst power play goal differential. They're only a total of a plus 22 on the power play this season. That's
I mean their conversion percentage.
Lowest, it's the lowest in the NHL.
Their power play conversion percentage, Scott, is last time I checked, which was like a month ago. I think they were 29th out of 32.
Yeah,
so it's
crazy.
But as it pertains to the Bruins power play, you guys hit a lot of good points. And Bridgette, you said something recently, which is they're overthinking everything. And I also think that there's this tendency, I think, when you go on the power play to, because you have the extra player, right? Your opposition is, of course, for the most part, they're going to be a little bit more conservative because they're trying to, they're in their box and they're just trying to keep you to the outside. So sometimes you have penalty kill units that pressure you hard, but most of the time they try to be more methodical. And so they give you the outside. So you have more time to just kind of play around with it because people aren't coming at you. And I think that the human instinct there is that sometimes when players go to the power play, they lose that assertiveness, that aggressiveness, because players aren't always coming at them, right? They're given more time and space because of the obvious. But the reality is, when you're on the power play, you have to be on your toes and you have to be the aggressor. And when there's loose pucks, you have to win those battles. And you notice that the top power play units, when there are loose pucks, they're like dogs on raw meat. They have 2 or 3 guys hunting it. And sometimes I feel like the Bruins first unit, they sit back. And again, by and large, they've been a very effective unit this year. They've been top 5 for most of the season. I think they just dipped out of the top 5 recently, but they're still a top 10 unit. So I'm specifically talking about more recently. And I just feel like they're waiting for the perfect seams to open up, for the perfect one-time opportunities, however you want to describe it. And the reality is, if you give the puck to Pavel Zacha on the goal line, just take it, challenge them, take it to the net mount, like take it to the crease, try to get a shot off, try to create some havoc. And then, maybe Geeky grabs a loose puck and now maybe he goes to Charlie, who goes to David, who's open for a one-timer, but they're waiting for these things. Like there was a play that I saw Fraser Minton do yesterday on the second unit. It was a tail end of a power play. He had the puck on the goal line. Nobody was challenging him. And so he took the space, he took the ice, and he he brought it right to the crease and nearly scored. And if that was the top unit, I feel like it would be they would just pass it around again and try to find that perfect one-timer for Geeky or David or whoever. And you just have to have a more, I know it sounds ass backwards because power plays, oftentimes you see pretty goals, but you really do have to have a perfect combination of structure, finesse, execution, but also a bit of a blue collar mentality on a power play. And sometimes I feel like that blue collar nature and that just get it to the net, sometimes it slips, especially when you're struggling, because when you're struggling and when you're battling confidence, to Scott's point, you feel like the only thing that's going to beat the goalie is that perfect play. And it's just not reality. Like it's just not. So I think the Bruins need to adopt a more of a, they need to be hungrier on the power play. They have to be hungrier and they have to be more decisive. Just not, that's how I think you get out of it. That power play that they had where who was it for San Jose? Graf, that shorthanded goal, that entire face-off sequence and that board battle was so soft and so lethargic. Everything about that play was just soft, and you cannot play that way. And so, yeah, you want to get back on the winning ways on the power play. Be aggressive, be more decisive, and stop being so picky with your scoring chances.
Yeah, and McAvoy's part of that battle. It's like him and Zaka, and they're, as you said, like they're both kind of just reaching in. I also didn't like McAvoy's play on San Jose's first goal, where he flips the puck up the boards. It gets broken up. Well, tries to complete a pass up the boards. It gets broken up, comes back to him, and then he just flips it up the boards again, right into a Sharks player, and now it's a rush the other way. McAvoy ends up falling down. Now it's 2-on-1. So, I mean, like, you know, losing his balance, like, whatever. Sometimes it happens, but I didn't like the way that started in the neutral zone, where it was like when I talked to Elias Lindholm, he talked about making hopeful plays, like just hoping a play would connect instead of actually being close enough to make sure it connects, which, again, like, I do appreciate that Elias Lindholm can diagnose these things, but at some point you got to actually go out and fix it. But like McAvoy on that first goal, it's like, that's a hopeful play. Like, you're just getting the puck on your stick, banking it up the boards, even though you know there's a shark there, but you're just hoping it gets by him or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like you can't be doing that. Like, you can't just hoping that something connects that's not a play. Like, that's not a good play.
And I wanted to tie in something Zadorov said too, because we're talking about, you know, confidence on the power play, but also confidence on the road, because that's where they're heading. Kind of combine my opening shift with that. But I wanted to read one of Zadorov's quotes from yesterday, when he was asked, like, what's the difference when you're at home versus the road? And he said, I feel like we play with so much more confidence at home. Obviously, it's nice to be home and play in front of fans, and we're feeling their energy from them and everything. I think on the road, we kind of, I don't want to say panic, but we kind of sit back and just wait a little bit. And I think we just have to play with the swagger that we have all year, with the identity, the Bruins identity, in your face. So I think a lot of the players this past few weeks have been asked, you know, what's the difference on the road versus at home? And that was his answer, was it's a confidence thing, and it's just not quite being as aggressive, I think, is the way that he looks at it.
Yeah, 11, 14, and 5 on the road. Again, you want to dumb it down to a win-loss column, 11 and 19 overall. So I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. You would think that a team that has a more defensive-minded structure, that has some bigger. The Bruins don't really have a work ethic issue. I think this group has played pretty hard all year for the most part. You would think that would translate to success on the road, where you can kind of play more free, be the bad guy. You know, sometimes home teams can tense up in front of their home crowds if things aren't going well. I don't know. It really is surprising to me that this team, if anything, I would think it would be the opposite. I would think that this team might struggle at home when, you know, they have some pressure of the, not that the fans' support is pressure, but sometimes when you're not producing or doing as well as you could be, it's tougher to do that in front of your home crowd than you're because you feel like you're letting them down. But yeah, it's surprising to me that they're this bad on the road.
Can we get back to your opening shift too, Brian? Hagens?
Yeah.
Because that game is tonight. I am excited for this game. And it's an interesting matchup as well because Maine rattled off 4 wins and then they lost their last game of the regular season. And you almost felt like that was kind of deflating. And Boston College is not finishing out the season very, very well. Hence how they fell from inside the playoff bubble a few weeks ago to outside of it at 18 now. I think they were 12. Was it 3 weeks ago? They've dropped out. The cut line is 16 or 15, or depending on if a unranked high enough team wins their conference tournament. But
which like that there will be at least one because
so the cut line is never really 16.
Yeah.
It's always like 15 or 14, depending on who goes through and wins if there's an upset. But anyway, it's gonna be it's a weird game because Maine's goaltending has not been good this year. And we were talking about Albin Boya. I was on the Albin Boya train, like sign him. He was at Bruins training camp or development camp. And he was so good last year. He helped them win the Hockey East Championship last year. But he's not even the starter right now. It's been Rousseau. So, if you're thinking of Maine the way they were last year, it's just not the same team. Boston College significantly different than last year too. They don't have Leonard or Proulx and things are different. So the players that are in charge of leading the way are Hagens and Letourneau and Gasso. These are Bruins guys.
And BC also battling goaltending issues that time. Jacob Fowler was such a huge part of that success last season.
Absolutely. Jacob Fowler was maybe the best college goalie I've watched. Obviously, that we have a little bit of bias because we're location bias. That's who we see. But yeah, so this year, Hagens as well. I just got an email. He's first team All-Star. Letourneau's not. I gotta see if he's on the third team or what. But Hagens was also the Hockey East scoring champ, which means that he has the most goals against any in Hockey East games. Letourneau made the third team. And I don't see any other Bruins prospects on the 3 All-Star teams here, but Hagens is first team, which isn't surprising because he does have the most goals and points. So, he's had a great season, but I know people are looking at this game and you normally would be rooting for him to do really well and show like, oh, he can really help in a playoff push. But I know Bruins fans kind of feel like, we want him to help our playoff push instead of, BC going on a run here. Because if they were to go through and win the Hockey East championship game and then therefore go to the NCAA tournament, you're looking at another 2-3 weeks. Like we're talking about what's the championship game of the NCAA tournament is mid-April, is it not? It's like April 14th or something like that.
I think it's April 11th.
That's a long ways away from, where he could be here tomorrow. It'll be one I think a lot of people ratings should be great. Tune in to listen to Eric. He's my broadcast partner on This Week in Hockey East. And he does BC all year. So, it'll be a good game, I think. But I don't know. BC is technically the higher seed. They are hosting. Maine has been playing slightly better hockey than them, but also having goaltending problems. And Maine's best player is hurt. So Justin Poirier is injured. So that does not help them either.
Yeah, and James Hagens right now is, I tweeted this out the other day, at the time he was 7th. He's now 8th because I don't think BC's played since, but somebody else must have and scored. But he's 8th right now in the nation in points per game. Okay, so earlier this year we talked about James should be one of the top scorers in the country. It was a bit of a slow start for him. Of course, he really picked things up throughout the course of the season, and he's with some pretty elite company in terms of some of the prospects that are also in top 10 with him. So he's right there with them, and he's had, I think are any of you guys disappointed with his production? I think he's had a very good year. I mean, maybe people thought he was going to be a 50+ point guy. Maybe it depends how far they went, but right now he had, I think, I don't have his points actually. I think it's 40. I think it's 42 points right now in
42
games.
points, and it's 1.31 points per game.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, like I'm happy with that. You guys happy with that?
Yeah, and it's been even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been even better since Thanksgiving. Like you mentioned, like he got off to a little bit of a slow start, and that's where when I was like, I know he doesn't have as good a line mates, but I expected more of a jump. Well, Thanksgiving on, there's been more of a jump, and you had a good, not great World Juniors in there as well. So, yeah, I would say like I'm not blown away, but I would definitely be pretty happy about it if on the Bruins. Like I do think he's been better. He's produced more than last year. He's scoring more goals. Like I think he's been more aggressive as a shooter, and his shot has also improved. He's playing a more well-rounded game.
He has more shots. He's third most shots in Hockey East.
Yeah, so like those are all good things. He's been used on penalty kill a little bit. He's not a regular killer for them, but like he's gotten some time there. Obviously he's a threat on the power play. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, you should be happy. You might wish maybe that it all came at center and he never moved to the wing, but again, as it relates to like his immediate future in the NHL, it probably helps that he's played so much on the wing and has been very good there, because that is probably where he'll break in.
Yeah, I don't think they're moving Minton, and I don't think they're putting him on the fourth line, and I don't think they're replacing, Elias Lindholm with him and moving Lindholm to wing. Like, I think he probably factors in on the left wings on one of the lines. So, but yeah, he has 6 game-winning goals. That's the most game-winning goals of anyone in Hockey East. He has 6 power play goals. He has 2 hat tricks this year. One of them I was there for, and that was the game I had to interview him twice. I felt bad for him that day, but yeah, I mean, I've watched.
I get it. There's a lot of days I have to talk to Bridgette twice, and I'm like, oh man, this is brutal.
Yeah. He put Tom in between us at the game yesterday. I know that he did that on purpose. So,
yeah, that's a tough look.
I just had to sing "That's What Makes You Beautiful" louder, is what happened. So
yeah.
That's the only thing that.
Tom's ears all the way to Scott.
Yeah, I told Tom, I said, help me sing this right now.
So, Scott, I agree with you. I think the Bruins should, whenever BC's season ends, I think they should sign Hagens and have him go play with the Bruins and let him determine if he should go down to Providence from there. I don't think it should be the other way around. I also think there's a clear need right now in the top 9 for his speed, skill, and maybe you don't move Lindholm to the wing for him, Bridgette, to your point. Maybe you play him alongside Lindholm. Maybe Lindholm is that, because the one thing about Lindholm that I will give him credit for, outside of his power play efficiency, which I've never docked him for, I'm talking about his 5-on-5 offensive production or lack thereof, but defensively at 5-on-5, Lindholm is very responsible and is a good pro in that end of the ice to have a young James Hagens with, and maybe you put him with Lindholm and Geeky, and
yeah, that's actually a really good comp to the line he plays on now. Like, that is, like, if you think of the line makeup that he's on now, it's him, Gasso, and Hemming. Gasso is like a solid 200-foot center, like really good defensively, smart, older veteran. And Hemming is 17, I think, but he's big. He's huge, strong shot, and good hockey IQ, which I feel like him and Geeky have some similarities there, like big hard shot. And yeah, like there would be threats on both sides of Lindholm in that case. And it wouldn't be that different of a dynamic than he's currently playing with at BC.
So are you on board, Bridgette, with him going to Boston right away whenever that time comes? And then if he
I
has to go
would
to
love
Providence
that. I
afterwards,
would.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's what I want to see. I think that's what everyone wants to see. But the question is, like, is that how the system, is that how Sturm and Sweeney see the system and the path to success because they're like in the thick of a playoff race, hunt to make the playoffs. And sometimes, little tweaks here and there could go completely great for you, or could go the other way as well. And there's a risk involved, obviously, in putting someone in that is still very young, is a college kid, where there is a big jump in growth that you need to make to be fully successful in the NHL. Now, if you put him on a line with Elias Lindholm, does that then mean he has to be going against other teams' top lines? Would you rather put him somewhere that handles?
I think that's the second line. That's probably the second line right now.
So like you want to probably keep him away from those situations. You probably want to put him in a lot of offensive zone situations, offensive zone face-offs, and that kind of stuff. Just help him get his feet wet. But I have no reason to believe that he's not good enough to figure it out on the fly. I think he can. I think he's somebody that can do that.
Yeah, and I just come back to like the Bruins need it or could use it. Like if there have been stretches this season where the Bruins have had 4 lines rolling and you like every combination going. If they were going through that right now and they're winning consistently, maybe I'd be open to the argument of like, do you really want to throw him in and risk disrupting that? If Steves and Asimon were really like earning ice time, do you want to bump one of them out even if they're playing well? But just as a quick aside, I will say I thought Steves played better Thursday. I thought he was much more active and much more physically involved, and like finally at least saw some signs from one of him or Asimon of like, I want this job and I want to keep playing. Didn't lead to like much in the way of offense, but he's at least noticeable. But yeah, if the Bruins had 4 lines going, the offense is clicking right now, maybe I'd be open to saying like, do you really want to disrupt that? That's just not the case. They have 1 line going right now. There is plenty of spots to mix in James Hagens and get him ice time and see if he can help. So I think it'd be kind of crazy like not to give him that chance.
Yeah. I think it's a way to infuse offense, and they don't add anyone at the trade deadline, right? So like there's certain teams like Columbus added Garland at the trade deadline. They have the emotional like boost of, hey, we got someone, like we have a little bit of help. We have our team, our organization believed that this would put us over or get us into the playoffs, I guess, for them. The Bruins didn't add anyone. And maybe this is the kind of like de facto little boost of, oh, we have this other thing. Like we have this other person that's going to maybe be able to help us. And hopefully everybody welcomes him in and makes him feel comfortable right away. And yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question on the back end real quick? How do we feel about Andrew Peake's play lately? And should he be subbed out going forward for Yoki Haru or Harris or something like that?
Yeah, I don't think he's been very good. I thought he had a really rough game Thursday. Obviously, gets William Eklund dances right around him on
what a goal.
I think that was the second Sharks goal, or not third. Which one? Oh, that was the fourth.
Fourth, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll blend them together. But Eklund dances right through him, and then obviously Swayman makes the first save and just an incredible put back by Eklund, batting it out of the air as he's falling, but it was getting around Peake in the first place. That was the big problem there. So yeah, I would have no problem taking Peake out. And honestly, like I would give Jordan Harris another chance. I thought he looked solid the 1 game he played for someone who hasn't played an NHL game since November. Like I thought there were some encouraging signs there, and I wouldn't leave him sitting on the bench or sitting up in the press box for another 3-4 weeks on end. Like I would probably be trying to get Harris back in at some point anyways. And now I think there's just like a clear opening where, to me, Peake's not really earning his stay in the lineup. But I thought Aspro was a little better in this game, but I think he's been struggling. Like, not that I'm at the point of benching Aspro yet, but yeah, I mean, just like up front, like there's guys on the back end that are not going well right now. So,
Bridgette, any defensive thoughts on this road trip coming up?
On Peak, okay.
Or just in general, any personnel changes you'd like to see?
So I talked to Lori after last game about being with Lindholm, and he talked about how he likes being paired there and that they are both kind of similar players and that he said, this is what he said. He said, we're not physical, but we're offensive minded players. And we kind of think the game the same way. So I have actually thought that pair has done pretty well. I don't know what you guys have thought about that pair. I've seen it open up the ice. I think that both of them understand that the other one, in the right opportunity, wants to get set up. So they do look out for each other in that way. Like, I know that you're open right now, so I'm going to set you up for this opportunity. And then the favor is returned later in the game at some point when, say, the other one is more open. So I have thought that it's looked good. Obviously, we've talked about some stick infractions and what have you, and some power play mistakes by Lindholm and by Laura has had some too. But 5-on-5, I thought they've looked well. I know Scott's probably going into the stats right now.
Yeah, I mean they've been good. Like, Bruins have outscored opponents, and they're 58% expected goals. That's the one pairing I would not touch or even really think about touching right now.
What's interesting is, and I know a lot is there's a lot of asterisks with plus minus. Mason Lohrei had the worst plus minus in the league last year at a -43, I believe. Same statistic, he's plus 11 this year. For whatever it's worth, same parameters on that stat. Plus 11, so better for him. I think he's maybe 6th on the team in that metric.
It's a massive swing.
Yeah, and because I was thinking about
even like -20 would have been an improvement.
Yeah, and I think about it because Marco Stern was asked about him when he first was hired as the coach, and he was asked about Lohrei's plus minus, or actually I don't even know if he was asked about it. He just brought it up maybe voluntarily, and so anyway, that's just worth noting. Same metric, and what's that net difference? 54, whatever it is. So. Yeah.
He's plus Laura at 5-on-5. So taking out like the empty netters and whatever, Laura's plus 10. There are only 5 Bruins who are better than that this season. The actually not the entire second line, but Arvidsson, Middlestad, Minton, and then Zadorov and Aspro.
Wow. So there you go. So better play out of Laura this year. Obviously, I as I said before, recent episodes, I think if Rasmus Andersson was willing to sign an extension in Boston, I think Laura's a flame right now. So, but
by the way, Rasmus Andersson not going so hot in Vegas.
No. So I don't know. Maybe a lesson to be learned. Not to. Sometimes it's the moves that don't end up happening. But guys, before we sign out, can I mention one thing that I'm starting to get pretty nervous about?
Okay.
I have one other thing too, but you go first.
I wonder if we're in the same mindset here, but we'll see.
I don't think so.
Okay. Don't yell at me. All right. So
I'm not nervous. I'm never nervous.
Not with that scallion.
Not with the luck of the Irish.
I'm starting to get nervous that Toronto's draft pick this year may be top 5 protected. I'm starting to get nervous about that. Austin Matthews gets the knee on knee from Radko Gudas last game. Toronto's already been a dumpster fire for a bit now, and I'm getting nervous. I'm just going to say it.
That is also a sentiment that I've heard in the press box. So I think people are starting to rumble about it. But here's the thing. they could finish bottom 5, but still not get that pick if someone hops them in the lottery.
Well, look at Boston last year, right? We finished
they
with the
won
5th
from
best odds,
yeah,
and we drafted 7th. So
exactly. Like that could happen to them too with any with their luck. That could happen.
Big win for Toronto last night, though. Even with Matthews leaving, they get the win over Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, maybe listen, all these players, and we had this conversation last year when we were talking about the Bruins, but and by the way, I feel like I said back in November that Toronto just reminded me of last year's Bruins, and it's very similar how it's played out. But we talked about it with the Bruins last year because you have a lot of the fans, myself included, that was hoping that they would lose as much as possible down the stretch to get that highest draft pick possible or the best odds.
And Scott said, no, don't mess with the karma. Don't mess with it.
However, and while I never suggested that the players should not try, that's not what I was saying. I was hoping that they would try, but they would just, not get the job done. But these players are very, very prideful, right? And so I know that Toronto's going through some shit right now, but maybe they get some backlash from nobody on the ice, including former Bruin Brandon Carlo stepping up to address Radko Gudas after that play on the ice. I think they were challenged a bit, and they know that they've had a bad year. Maybe their pride just kind of kicks it up a little bit here in the final 15 games, and they try to finish the best of course they would try to, but they're gonna do everything that they can to finish as strong as possible because the players coaches don't tank. We know that. Management might put them in a position to not have the most optimal rosters.
But they didn't sell as bad as the Bruins did last year.
They didn't. I was surprised by that. I was surprised that they had a pretty conservative deadline for a team that I feel like all the rumors heading into the deadline where Toronto was looking at Boston last year and saying, we got to try to do what they did.
There just wasn't as much out there this year, I think.
No, different market. You're right. Yeah.
But that would have been how they set themselves off on paper to end up with a top 5 pick. So, they didn't do that probably because they weren't able to, not because they didn't want to necessarily, because that is the way that's the path that they're on right now. But Bruins fans will continue to watch that. You're watching the Red Wings, you're watching Columbus, and you're watching Toronto for the opposite reason. you're wanting all of
Montreal,
them
Pittsburgh, the Islanders, like everyone is just so close together.
I know.
Hell, even Florida, right? You want to see if their first round pick is protected as well, and because that would affect the Bruins' first rounder for them, push that from 27 to 28 or something like that. So,
but speaking of teams to watch, my one final note on the Red Wings, because we mentioned, the Bruins do play them a week from Saturday, and that'll be a big game. They will be without Dylan Larkin and Andrew Copp, their top 2 centers, for at least the next 2 weeks. I know teams always rally, but I saw that and I was like, Detroit should be the team that falls out. I already thought they were maybe trending that way. I've honestly not been overly impressed by the Red Wings pretty much all season. They have a negative goal differential on the year, but if everyone else takes care of business, which is a big if, this is everyone's chance to kind of bury Detroit. Them staying in it without their top 2 centers for a couple weeks would be tough. It would be really impressive on their end if they do it, but there's a big opening there for teams to bury Detroit.
And you play them in 8 days. It's at Detroit, but the Bruins they're on the upcoming schedule. So that's one of those swings I was talking about. That's why that game is very important. And I think, Brian, you said that Bruins are technically ahead of them on points percentage, but not points. So they are right there. I would consider them in the same category as Columbus. Those are the 2 teams. 2 of those 3 teams, Columbus, and Detroit, 2 of the 3 probably make it and 1 doesn't. So you're rooting really hard.
But then there's also there's the whole that middle of the Metro division. Pittsburgh and the Islanders are sitting there 79 points, 1 point ahead of you, same number of games played, and it's Columbus catches one of them could fall out.
Yeah.
A lot of parity this year in the
Yeah.
NHL. A lot of parity.
But still
And
still, like I was saying, 2 of the 3 would make it in. Maybe another team falls out, but like 2 of Detroit, Boston, Columbus probably is what happens. But which ones? That's what we need to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, simply put, we have no idea how it's going to finish.
All three can make it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not crazy.
Nothing is settled. That's the simplest way to put it. Nothing is settled.
Yeah.
Even jockeying for position for some of the top teams. Carolina may be a Metro 1. I don't know what the gap is between them and Metro 2, but like Atlantic could still go to Tampa or Buffalo. I mean, but anyway, any final thoughts from the two of you before I sign out? Scott's gonna get to practice.
Yep, I'm good.
All righty.
Come on, hockey hub at 1.
Tune in.
Mm-hmm.
Tune in. All right. Thank you all very much for listening. Enjoy the Bruins game over the weekend, and we will talk to you on Monday. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.